I'd like to welcome Ray Powers as a fellow peace advocate here in Ojai and as a partner of Ojai International City of Peace since 2015 here in Ojai. Working with Ray, oh my God, I so much admire his many faceted talent. I love his precision. He wants to understand and he listens. He speaks up and puts the finger on uncomfortable issues. And he deeply cares about the future of the earth. I'm so looking forward to hear Ray's insight about shaping peace together, the UN theme for 2020. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great.
I'm really happy to
Great.
be here. I'm excited.
Yeah. So I'm going to read a little bit of your bio so that people who don't know you might have a little broader sense. So Ray Powers calls his lifelong body of work simple brilliance. This philosophy is expressed and applied through transformational coaching, mentoring, writings, and environmental activism. As well, he is a skilled composer, vocalist, and photographer. A meditator for close to 50 years, his perspectives, practices, and insights have helped youth, adults, and business leaders. He's been a resident of Ojai, California since 1999 and has served on the Ojai City Planning Commission, Ojai International Cities of Peace, and Ojai Green Coalition, contributing towards the long-range goals of a sustainable, resilient community. Welcome, Ray.
Hi, Brian.
And I'm just going to ask, really, what gives you hope for the earth and our youth today? From your experience, how best can we move forward?
My mother turned 100 years old last week. That's a milestone. I was talking to her the day before her birthday, and I asked her what advice would she give to a 20-year-old, and what would she say to them if they were concerned about the state of the world and had some fears around that and had lost hope. And my mother, who's always been very pragmatic and not very verbose like her son, replied to me. She said, do what you like to do and choose a career that you enjoy doing. And then regarding hopes, she said, you can never lose your hopes. Surround yourself with those who have the same concerns and interests as you do. I really thought that was very wonderful, pragmatic advice, not just for 20-year-olds.
Right, a lot of wisdom there.
And I had never really heard her speak to that before. Like I said, she's not a woman of very many words, so I have to prompt her to share. But it had me certainly reflect on my life and the people I surrounded myself with throughout my life, and the activities I've engaged in that have always been things I enjoy and that naturally draw me. And I think that's where this idea of simple brilliance comes along too, is that innate genius and intelligence that we each have, and know what our direction and path is, really. Even if we think we don't, there's always something within us that's moving and guiding us forward. That's our natural way of being, if you will. And that will then have us be discerning regarding who we surround ourselves with. So for me, it was the environment and music, and knowing how important mentors are. So your question regarding hopes for the earth and the youth, this idea of mentorship, of those of us who are older, embracing the two-way street of respect with youth, I may not understand their concerns and their thoughts and their interests, or they may have more skills and abilities in certain areas because those weren't available when I was a youth. So it's so important for us people who are of an older generation to be curious about the youth and their perspective and their solutions and their vision, to engage them and invite them in to participate with us.
Yeah, Ray, when I was with Jerry Jampolsky, he, Center for Attitudinal Healing, one of the principles was that we're students and teachers for each other. There was
Right?
There was an equality there. Yeah.
Yes. And, we want to be real about it, that, given experience, just life years on earth, our skill sets, our life skills, not necessarily our skill sets, but our life skills, hopefully our emotional maturity and intelligence is more advanced. But nonetheless, I get very excited and enthused when younger people want to come play and become involved as peacemakers, as environmental activists. We see that in XR youth, the Extinction Rebellion youth here in Ojai and throughout the world, and what kind of energy Greta Thunberg has been able to manifest, this wave of energy. Because what I find happening, I don't know about you, but what I find happening in speaking with people, mostly between 25 and 35, is they're kind of wanting to create a whole nother reality, like a different paradigm, rather than try to, and it's not right or wrong, but rather than looking at the current system, which definitely has failed a lot of people in terms of economic, social justice, the environment, our business practices, how that's fed into that. I mean, we have systemic problems. They're not isolated. There's a symbiosis between all these cultural and societal challenges. And so some of the young people I talk to want to simply not engage, and are focused on healing their relationship and connection to the earth, by learning farming skills and gardening skills and natural building skills, social experiments in terms of community living and things like that, which I think are fantastic. And the very beginnings of possibly a new curve. It's interesting. We have possibility and we have probability, and we kind of have pragmatism, and that all kind of has to work together. But I think in terms of shaping peace, this idea of healing our relationship with the planet is at a key, because this notion of man's dominion over Earth has caused a lot of stress and a lot of inequity, and also has used up a lot of resources. And so we've created in the Western world these lifestyles that rely on a lot of resources, but there's been a short-term gains without a long-term vision necessarily. And so well, you and I have spoke about this, you know, peace is such a broad word, you know, and peace, like love, is a verb. So peace shows up in action, not just externally, internally as well. You know, peace is an inside job. And that also is a verb, because we have to take the time to sit and meditate or reflect. And as Einstein said, you know, find the right question. You know, if you were told you had an hour to solve a problem because your life depended on it, Einstein said he would take 55 minutes of that hour to discover the right question. And then he would only need 5 minutes to solve the problem. So that question, that curiosity of what does it take to shape peace? The crux of the matter is, what's the right question to be asking? I'm not saying I have it, but it's being in that inquiry, that powerful inquiry with ourselves and with each other. What is the right question to be asking that then will birth the most empowering and radical shift in our consciousness. Because we really are talking about a consciousness shift when it comes down to it. Not so much with youth, I will say. Only because the older we get, our imprinting gets deeper and deeper and deeper. The older we get, the more we think we're right. The older we get, everything's moving potentially slower. The older we get, it might take more to rattle the cage to wake up our consciousness into a different way of being or a different way of relating. With youth, you know, the frontal lobe is still developing until you're what, 21, 25, something like that. So there, you know, the way that information is being processed and the way the consciousness can be expanded is much more malleable in that way. I mean, I feel very blessed that, you know, I was taught to meditate when I was 12 by a camp counselor, because, you know, those were the times in the late 60s, right? So, but, you know, I'm so grateful to Sparky for teaching me how to meditate, because that's been with me ever since, to like, oh, you know, I don't have to be moving all the time. I don't have to be thinking all the time. I can just sit here under a tree and let things come to me.
I really want to, you know, honor the pointers you give. So I'd like to go back to the message your mom gave you for her 100th birthday, to stay in hope, which means not to give up. And I think that's a very important question, as so many, or message, as so many people are in a way a little hopeless or overwhelmed with what's going on in the world. So, and you brought up, bringing up the right question. What is the question? So there is this curiosity. You engage yourself, you be still, engage and inquire yourself. You like to build the bridge between the elder, being honored as an elder, but also honoring the youth and working with them to find the right solution, ask the right questions. And like here with Peace Day, how to shape together. So you build the bridge, let's say, between your mother, who is 100 years, and the youth you work with here in Ojai community. You're very active on many layers of ages and diversity. So I really, it's very inspiring, you know, your approach, the scale you offer.
Yeah.
You know, it's really simple if we attempt to listen twice as much as we speak. And if we really learn to listen to each other, then compassion and empathy can become created. Then our individual lives and experiences also are there's then a realization that there's universal experiences. There's our individual stories of how we've grown up. I can't fully relate to someone who's in a war-torn country and bombs are falling on them. But there's universals that we share as human beings as well. And those universals are, you know, empathy and compassion. We all want to be loved, and we all want to love our sustenance. And it ties back to what I said earlier, that we can't isolate economic, social justice, and the environment. They're all one. We can't address, in the Green Coalition, we can't address our sustainability and resilience in the Ojai Valley without also addressing social justice and those underserved communities. It all has to be looked at all at once. And then that brings up the question, what is the crux? You know, what is wanted and needed versus us deciding what's wanted and needed, finding out, being curious what's wanted and needed.
Yeah. Thank you, Ray. That really sums it up with this holistic view that it's all connected. And so as we move forward, we are shaping peace together. So thanks for your partnership, and I really welcome any additional input as we move forward together here in Ojai. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, thank you for everything you do here in the community. You're really a strong pillar.
Yeah, same to you too.
Thank
okay.
you.
All right.
Okay.
I'll see you
Bye
later.
for now.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.